Good afternoon, YouTube and ytpc. How you all doing? Well, it's mild today and a bit wet out there with occasional patches of blue sky, but it's not so bitter cold, so quite comfortable in the shed really. Didn't even preheat it today. Well, today is a special day because I'm smoking a custom-built. Can you believe it? I got a custom-built and it was gifted to me by my good friend Michael Case. It's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous, and I've been looking for 2 years to try and find one of these, and he sent me one. Just getting used to not smoking with a filter, because you have a very easy draw, which is the advantage of not having a filter, but I'm not used to it. I've got a few Medico crystals in the bowl, and to celebrate smoking this great American piece of history, I've got American Patriot Missouri Meerschaum. It's going fast. It's really good tobacco if you haven't tried it. Very pleasant and only moderately topped really, but the flavors are just perfect, mingling with the tobacco. It's an excellent blend. American Patriot. I realise it's much easier to smoke and generate smoke without a filter. Just realised that after all this time. Well, as the light is always a bit compromised here in my shed, because the shed has to be a little bit dingy, you know, otherwise you don't get the atmosphere. So I prepared a little bit of footage about this fantastic pipe, and also one that I bought on the recommendation of good old Paladin Piper. One of those just beautiful Medico pipes as well, so that's a new one which I bought. Anyway, here's a little bit of footage to tell you more about this pipe and the Medico pipe. Well, as I've mentioned before, quite a few things arrived over the Christmas period, and we were in a different place, so when I got back about a week ago there was a lot of parcels and boxes to open, and a few things arrived even in between now and then. So this wonderful pipe was in a box sent to me by a good friend Michael Case. Michael is one of our ytpc community, a great bloke, and we've exchanged things before. And he heard me once saying I was looking for a custom built, and since several presenters have shown their custom builts, Northwest Piper and Eric the blue collar Piper, and others have shown these wonderful pipes, I thought, oh, I must get one of those. You know, it's one of the old classic Americana from the 30s to the 60s pipes that you want to get, like Dr. Graywoodie and like the Medicos and the K-Woodies and so forth. But the custom built ones, of course, had this nice old chunky look with thick bowl walls on them, and a sort of heavy rustication and carving, which made them very unique. And I just love the look and the feel actually in the hand of this pipe. And there it is, you see. Michael sent me, kindness of his heart, this custom built pipe, imported briar, of course. Everything is, this is an original, and this is the most fantastic gift. I was just bowled over, Michael, that you sent me this, and gave me such joy. He cleaned everything up and was ready to go. I just put a little softie on the top here, and of course these are unfiltered pipes from those days, but I've got maybe 10 unfiltered pipes in my collection, and I just use Medico crystals or Nording stones in the bowl, and that's almost as good anyway as using a filter. So I can't wait to try this one out. It's just going to be great fun. Well, as some of you know, Michael is a man who likes the old typewriters, and I think has a collection of those. And he sent me this beautiful note typed on a 63 Olympia SM5, and mentioned that it's from Eugene Rich era of custom built pipes. So that's a bit of history as well. I will be keeping this note in my treasured friends notes folder, Michael, and you might find a box arriving with you sometime soon to express my thanks. Of you fulfilled a great wish for me to have a real custom built, and now I've got one in my collection. It was important, as important for me as having one Dunhill pipe, which I got about a year ago, and this is going to be great. I'm really looking forward to trying this pretty soon. So that's one joy that came over the festive period, and as I said, I couldn't receive it where I was in southern Switzerland, but when we got back we had all these nice big surprises. And another one was an idea given to me by good old Paladin Piper, who introduced this pipe on his video. I'll leave a link below that you see that original video. And he said that there are some of these beautiful silver band Medico pipes on offer. And I think he had it directly from the Wally Frank company, who still makes them. And fortunately for me, they work with some distributors, and one of their well-known distributors is Graywoodie. So always, if you're looking for a K-Woodie or yellow bowl or a Medico pipe, this is a good place to go, as well as of course to the Wally Frank company itself. And they had one of these. So thank you, Pat, for tipping me off. And it's a beautiful pipe, a little bit, tiny bit larger bowl. It's not, that was the days of small bowls, but a little bit larger. And I like the K-Woodies and the Medico ones when they allow you to have a filter, which this one does. and I put even one of these longer Savinelli 6mm in it. A very, very lovely, elegant pipe. Won't cost you a fortune, but and it's brand new. It's newly made by the Frank Company, and it's just great. So I'm really looking forward to trying that one as well. It's pre-carbonized and nicely drilled right down the middle. So that's a couple of great additions to my collection, which is practically now complete. I think I can't wish for anything more, and I will probably not show a lot or very few new pipe videos, because I've got plenty enough to choose from now. But I just love the look of it, the stem and everything. You know, it's aluminium. This is probably a plastic stem, but it's just very attractive, I think. Small enough to be one you put in your pocket and go for a walk or something like that. And if you're a clencher, it's not that heavy, so you know, sort of pipe you could smoke while you're doing something else as well. Beautiful. And good old Nathan at Graywoodie always writes a personal note, which I think is a lovely touch. And he says this one is a little bit rarer to find. And of course, season's greetings and all of that. But yeah, you don't see this everywhere. And in fact, I was really lucky because it was the only site that I found that they still had one. So lucky me. That's great. Beautiful. So I'm a happy camper, as one could say, having those beautiful pipes. Now, as it is, when you finally get one of these pieces of history in your hand, you are so overjoyed, and you start to look up about it, you know, the history of everything. So I realized very quickly that you could write books and do 2-day documentaries about custom-built pipes. There's so much to find out. I've put several links below which will guide you to pipe fill and restored pipes, and some other Pipedia, of course, which will give you some information in case you've not met those sources before. But it's quite fascinating what I found out. And Michael sent me that little note, of course, and this is from Eugene Rich era of custom-built pipes, which is about 1946-7 to 52, and he basically was the selling arm, having so many tobacconists around New York City and other places. So Tracy Mincer was always looking for partners to sell through. So this pipe is it's about 70 years old. You know, it's older than I am. That's pretty old. Well, my official age, of course. That's, but it just shows you a good briar pipe can last probably several hundred years, you know, if you look after them. And this was beautifully restored by Michael, and I've just put a little softy on the stem to protect it. Now, back to just a few things for those who are not familiar with CUSTOM-BILT, and apologies to very many of you who know everything about CUSTOM-BILT and a lot more than I do. But just a few facts. Of course, Tracy Mincer, he founded the company in 1929, and very interesting is he wanted to make very charismatic, individualized carvings, and he basically, one of his slogans was individual as a thumbprint. That's important because if you really look, there are no two exactly the same. They're all a little different, and even the stamp, so the CUSTOM-BILT stamp on here, can't see it in this light, that is different very often one era to another. It helps to date these pipes. Minderson's in a 5-year bracket, and some pipes have little artisan marks on them and some don't, and that adds to their rarity. So already this one from Eugene Rich is you know, not so easy to find, but there are other ones, of course, which are very special. And for example, if you look at how CUSTOM-BILT is actually printed here in this photo, you can really identify this is from the Eugene Rich. Also, you can look at pipes from that era, but the way the C connects to the U and the C curves all the way over to the T, CUSTOM-BILT, and it's not with a hyphen. Some are with a hyphen, and some are two separate words without a hyphen, and this one is CUSTOM-BILT all in one. So that's very useful for actually knowing what kind of pipe you've got. So this is 1946, as I said, to 1953, and it's quite fascinating. It's also interesting, I was talking about filters and putting crystals in the bowl, but Tracy Mincer actually invented the first kind of pipe filters, and they were actually pipe cleaners cut in sections or made in a spiral, and he put a slightly larger chamber in the pipe that they would fit in there and help to, of course, filter a little bit. And here's a box of his old filters with the design of the pipe that they were meant for here. So he was very innovative all those decades ago, you know, things that we think are quite recent. No, they were already at it back then in the 30s. In fact, he got a 1937 patent for that idea. Another example of his innovation is the converti bowl, and that came around in the late 1940s, and was also the Eugene Rich period. And here's an ad showing the converti bowl that basically allows you to change the bowl onto the stem, and it's a bit like a falcon concept, but much earlier. Well, of course, there were a number of owners of the brand CUSTOM-BILT. Leonard Rogers took it over in 1953, and Wally Frank, who also had a chain of tobacconists and is not related to SM Frank, which that always confused me, you know, if they were from the same family. But apparently I looked into the forums, and the great gods of the forums said not as far as they know. But Wally Frank also owned this brand in the 70s, and apparently it's still owned by a company in Spain today, this famous brand. But it's just I always think, you know, wouldn't this be an opportunity for one of the big guys to buy that brand and reproduce these? Or maybe the SM Frank company could do that. They do such a good job making those Medicos and K-Woodies, and you know, everybody's after one of these, you know. And I must say they're incredibly comfortable in the hand. These little carved grooves just fit perfectly. They're not done at random, and the thick bowl is always welcome, you know. There's nothing worse to getting a over hot bowl that you could and sometimes you barely can control it with tempo or packing, but a decent thick bowl is really a good thing. Well, in case anybody's interested to look further about custom built, there was from Bill Unger a great book, and it's called the CUSTOM-BILT Story. But it's a book with a spiral binding, and I saw in Amazon there was one, but it's gone, you know, and they're probably really difficult to find. But in Pipedia there's a review about the book and what it's got in it, and there's a great deal of examples of the pipes there as well. So I think you won't miss too much if you go to the links that I've got below. But if anybody's got that book, it would be interesting to know, and if there are any still for sale anyway. Well, it smokes really well, really easy. Next time I'll pack it a bit denser, and it'll give me a longer smoke, and because it draws very easily, but that's because it's no filter in it. But it's an excellent, beautiful pipe, and I'm really enjoying it. And again, Michael, thank you so much, very much, for this kind gift. With that, I wish you all a great day, a lovely Thursday, January 20th, and a lovely weekend that's coming soon. Take care, everyone. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.